GameGuy.com. This is John's report is for the 28th. Well, we just closed literally just moments ago. And, well, massive gap up came across. And it was interesting because I was actually just after the video report was just before this point right here. We came back to this repeat setup. And to me, this was a long setup right on this candle right here because we had crossed and did the flip against the cyan right here, and we are just getting the pivot of magenta, and that to me was a long signal and pretty clean. Was an easy, 10 plus points and close it up. But then it was like I noticed that we were getting close to the potential of a DOC spread, and then sure enough, green cross over there, orange already out of the zone, and then magenta had already dropped off. But to me, the critical one there too was on MBI white. Started to rise at the same time the MBI red dipped below green, and at that point it was just a short and pretty much left that. To me, the cover point came all the way over here. You'd had the P2 effect, which you see right there. Orange was, not orange, but magenta was leading yellow at this particular stage. So we could see that there was going to be a short cover rally here with the MBI white trailing behind it. And we had the rising red DOC and white DOC as well. Plus, on the shakeout, you had flipped to the plus side with yellow over magenta, the same configuration as you get here. Only I flip it, inverted it with the MBI reading, so you get just the opposite effect, but it's still the same thing. This usually waits a little bit longer until you get above the negative 13.5, but from a cover standpoint, we were in at the 75.13, and then you're talking about the close right there down at 74.33, not quite 100 points, but pretty darn close to it. And so then it was the turnaround long there from the 433, and then we got another short signal right at the 45.56. So, and then it was just another nice one because we had the same configuration taking place right over here. Took that long setup, and then we ended up with another really good short run. That was all the way from the open there, 74.50, 49.90, or 75 was it? Yeah, 49.75. And then was the cover turnaround right here at the 44.22. So, another 25 plus there, and then this one just crept along to medium range right at this particular area. It didn't work that one because that wasn't so much relevant. I just stayed with it and added to the position as we got to the second run because it looked pretty clean as far as everything had been continuing to rise, and we had from my viewpoint, shakeout gold rising. So any little head fake there was just going to be a consolidation until a breakout. And sure enough, it was pretty straightforward from there. 74.30 range, and then it broke up just before the market closed all the way up to the 50. So it just kept being, after the big run, it was 20 points here, 30 points there, 25 here. All pretty straightforward stuff, nice and clean. Did take away from my ability to put in some of that programming because I was actively playing with that. But you can see what it looked like from everyone who was in the gap up situation. That was just a decay. We haven't changed range, so nothing really happened. It was just a lot of activity for pretty much staying in the same spot. No real big effect on Bitcoin. Nothing really happened with gold. Euro still stuck in the same zone. In fact, we're starting to get a little bit of a drop in the 100%. That could be enough to give it a little bit of a lift. Tends to do that. The drop that we saw at the beginning for oil maintained itself. If you're not dropping bombs, everyone seems to be thrilled with that. Doesn't mean oil is really moving anywhere. It just means you don't have the potential for greater losses or failures to deliver. Any question about whether or not that is a full retrace of 100%? A little bit right into the lows here. Got, if we go all the way to this yellow candle, you would have a little bit further range to go on the NASDAQ at the 24.4, but then 27.8, the 9 range, that's more than 80%, so that's technical fill without any question about it. Still magenta under yellow, so no change. But the more interesting thing is the MBI white taking a lead on it. It's just when you don't have the orange dip on DOC. This is just continuation. We've talked about this for years. I mean, nothing changes with that. As long as it stays in that range and you don't dip here, strong in the next day or so. What I'm really looking for, though, would be to see a dip of the extreme into the magenta color. So something like this over here, that would indicate that you have a strong reversal potential. We haven't seen that yet. We didn't see it. The same thing. We didn't see it on the S&P right here either. And so we're still in the same spot. So a heck of a lot of intraday volatility for not a lot, and people bought into that gap up, really feeling like they got hosed pretty hard. That happens, but from an options play or whatever, everyone who was in puts and stuff, they had all the theta and everything just like wiped out of that from an option standpoint. So unless they added into it, they got damaged all from an option standpoint. So could have been some activity within option players there. One that I'm still following for us, which I really don't think I've talked about much, was the SpaceX. I had to reduce it into a 15-minute range simply because there's just not enough data. So need enough range to eventually move into daily. It just hasn't been around long enough, but it's been pretty clean as far as the lower and lower mid-range highs. I mean, literally, this is trailing the lowered 50% all the way down for each of them. You're hitting it again here. So, you just had the successful launch, so we'll see what happens with that. But then you keep an eye on that kind of thing just for the fun of it. Anyway, that's long and the short of it. I won't be around most of the day. That's why we're doing this right after the market close, so everyone will be ready anyway. Have a good one. Trade well.